Hello, and welcome to Let's Talk Oregon. I'm really excited for this September edition of our show. Today, we're going to be talking with Dr. Leslie Bergstrom, the Superintendent of the Oregon School District, and also with Nate Mendl, who is our Performing Arts Center Technical Director, and he is going to be foreshadowing the upcoming Headliner Spotlight Series here at our very own Oregon Performing Arts Center. So, Leslie, thank you for joining us today. It is great to have you here. Today we're going to talk about the excitement of back to school. We have some great questions about that, but I really want to go back in time for our last question.
Because you and I do go back in time.
We do
for
a
quite
long
a
ways. Yeah, we really do. About 20 years now. So let's go back in time and talk about the end of last year. Kids went home for summer.
Not all the way back.
No, not all the way back in time.
Just to the end of last year.
Kids went home for the summer, and you and the district office staff and our administrators had to plan the goals for this next school year. So kind of explain that. When those kids walk out the door, we're already planning in stages for the next year. Can you explain what that process looks like for us here?
Absolutely. So every year, the administrative team sets aside several days in the summer where we go to a different location and really immerse ourselves in the data from the past school year. Although I think it's really important to say that data is something you need to look at throughout the course of the school year and not only at the end. But in the summer, we take a look at some of that benchmark data that we receive at the end, and we, like I said, immerse ourselves in it. Now, we tried something different this year, and we're really happy because we're always looking for ways to improve our leadership, to have even more clear, focused direction, or the word of this particular experience was coherence, because we figured that's what's going to lead to the best results for our students. So we took a different strategy, and we worked with the Association for Wisconsin School Administrators. They planned our 3 days for us, along with several other districts that were participating. I think this is, maybe the 20th cohort or so of schools or school districts to go through this particular training. And they really helped us tighten and focus and gain the 4K-12 coherence that we were looking for. And I would say we always felt very aligned. But coherence is all of the different pieces of the puzzle fitting together, as opposed to linear thinking about how we progress through the system. So it was a really intense 3 days. And after that, we came up with a 100-day plan. And we will be revisiting as a team at the end of 100 days to take us from where we were at that time to where we want our students to be able to be by the end of the year, and what steps help us get there. How do we best support teachers and helping them get there? It's all about making sure we're doing the best we can for everybody in the system.
Yeah, and it's a tall task. I mean, many moving parts, constantly shifting and evolving. So I was talking with a colleague the other day, and it was a great quote. And she said, we love September because September, everything seems possible, right? It's a fresh new start.
Yes.
You get new kids in your classroom, and it's a really exciting time of the year.
Yes.
So what are the highlights for you every year as our students head back to school? What do you enjoy the most about these first few days and weeks of school?
Sure. Well, I love the Jumpstart camps that we have at each of the schools, because that's the first time that we get that sense of newness, right? That excitement. So that's always a highlight for me. Next, I'd say new educator orientation. I absolutely love spending time with the educators that we have just hired into the system. They're always dynamic, interesting, eager, talented people. And so spending time with them is a big energizer. And then when the staff come back and we get to all be together, usually the last several years it's been in the gymnasium at the high school. That's always a highlight for me, because seeing everybody, it's sort of like a family reunion, right? You get to see everybody again after a period of time, and it just feels good. And then the best part of all of it is the first day of school. And I was at Forest Edge to experience that this year. And Miss Majeski was saying that she looks through her yearbook the weekend before to make sure she's got all the names in her head and she's ready to go. And so watching those relationships, the teachers greeting the students coming in, either feeling like they're old pros because they've been there several years, or with the newness of, this is my first year in school, it's all a beautiful thing to watch.
Sure is.
How people are supporting and caring for one another, and how much they do to make sure that first day is a really good memory for kids. And then you get to go to all the other schools, and everything that's happening at the high school is just like the elementary school, right?
Just a lot larger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the kids are bigger. But everybody's trying to make sure that people have a really good day where they feel good about school, they feel confident in what they're doing, and they feel excited about what's coming. And that's just the best. Yeah. I love this time of year.
It is a great time of year. And so as we kind of think forward, I know a few years ago, we were kind of working under some data and assumptions that the district was kind of growing at, not an alarming rate, but a pretty quick rate.
Yes.
But that growth hasn't necessarily panned out yet. That could have been effects from kind of the pandemic and maybe houses not being built or the cost of supplies. So do we still expect to see some moderate growth over the next couple of years? Or can you explain what we can expect?
Absolutely. So we did do a study back in 2016 regarding growth and the projections for the school district. And the projection was to expect, I think, 2,000 students within the next 5-6 years, or maybe a little more than that. And that was alarming. We weren't prepared to grow by that measure. So we did prepare, right? We developed a growth plan, and the first stage was Forest Edge. And the next phase, which is several years in the future, will be another middle school that becomes a 6-8 building. Our other school, middle school, becomes a 6-8 building. Our elementaries and RCI become K-5s. That's the next step. Now, we thought we'd be there maybe by 2024, and we're nowhere near that. And there are multiple factors connected to that. And we commissioned another study just to follow up, because we knew that many things had changed since 2016. One of the biggest things was the birth rate in Dane County. It took a very big dip. Unexpected. The people who were doing population projections, they weren't expecting a dip of that nature either. And, it's entertaining because I have children within that age group where they would be thinking about families and all of that. And that is just something that people aren't thinking about perhaps as early as my generation thought about it. So we may have something as simple as people putting off families. It could be connected to the rising housing prices throughout Dane County.
Exactly.
It could be connected to a lot of things, but we are not alone. Growth has slowed throughout most parts of Dane County, but thankfully we still have slow and steady increases, and that's exactly where you want to be in Wisconsin with their state funding formula.
That makes it more manageable for us in the long term. Right.
Yes.
So we're very proud of our 5 core values and that apple symbol that we see everywhere here in the district. So where do you see those 5 values playing out into the daily operations and activities going on in our schools? What would you like to highlight about that?
Well, they do play out, and it really doesn't take spending very much time in schools to see how they're playing out, and that's pretty exciting. And that really is our approach in every classroom, whether it's 4K or it's grade 12. It's the idea of educating the whole child, understanding them not just as academic students, but as human beings, and all the different pieces that go into growing up and becoming a caring, educated, empathetic, responsible, critical thinker, all of the things we have in Portrait of a Graduate. So when you're able to spend any time in the schools, you'll be able to see that emphasis on the whole child. And I will say, anywhere you go, I really believe that that's embedded everywhere. And you can't do that well without doing all of the other things too. It takes amazingly caring and talented educators to be able to hold in both hands, not just the academics, but also the human being side of it, and then making a quality experience while thinking about both of those things simultaneously. That requires a pretty talented person, and we have a district full of them.
Right. And it was interesting, you said in the new hiring class that came in, the average amount of experience has actually risen of our hires. Do you want to explain what do you think is behind that?
Sure. Well, we know that in Wisconsin, we have a decreasing number of people receiving degrees in education, and we also have more people leaving the profession. It hasn't played out for us here in Oregon, but it's playing out throughout the state, particularly in rural areas and in urban areas. And so we do have more people who are attracted to certain districts, such as Oregon, leaving other places to come here after they've had experience somewhere else. And our students, our families are benefiting from that experience. And that's a great thing, and I'm very happy for that. But when I think big picture about the state and schools in other parts of the state that are having an extraordinarily difficult time attracting educators, it makes me very worried for where we're going to be in 10 years or so. Right. And I happen to think it's one of the best professions in the world. Right. And so I want to be able to see more people seeing the value of it and feeling they can have sustainable and fulfilling lives pursuing it.
Well, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I love my job and I love working for the district. So, a question I've asked a lot of public officials here on this show so far has been a perceived sense of erosion of trust between, public officials who are making these decisions about, the goings-on in the village, even in the school district. So, what ways do you see are really productive, healthy ways to increase communication with all the different stakeholders in our district to kind of move forward in beneficial, healthy, engaging dialogue that helps us all grow and learn from each other? So what do you think? How do we bridge that gap?
Well, I think one of the most important things is face-to-face conversation as opposed to conversation on social media sites. I think that people probably aren't their best selves on most of those sites. And so I think that when you are actually able to have a human being to human being conversation, it really does build a sense of connection. And over time, it does build trust. And so one of the things that I hope we continue to do more and more of is offering engagement opportunities with all members of our public, our families, our community members, bringing them in, having real conversations about things that matter to them, and building that trust through strong relationships. And doing that as opposed to trying to counter things that we may see on social media sites. In-person, meaningful conversation about things that are important to people, that matters.
I think that's extremely important. I think we gotta keep the human face to all of this.
We do.
It's humans behind every decision and humans who are impacted by those decisions. So finally, as we kind of look forward to this year, what should we be looking forward to in the OSD? What are the highlights for you? What are you most looking forward to about the district and where we're going?
Well, I enjoy any time I get to spend in classrooms, watching people do amazing things with and for our students. And then the next best part is getting to talk to the students about that experience. I really find that as soon as I have an opportunity to engage with students at every level, the joy factor in my job multiplies significantly because I am absolutely a teacher who is serving in the role of a superintendent. So what I look forward to are opportunities to engage with students who are engaging in this real in-depth, relevant learning that I know happens all across our district every day. So I get pretty charged up about those opportunities, and I love invitations into the classroom. A brand new teacher already invited me in last week, the first week of school.
Yeah, that's
it
great.
was a wonderful way to end my Friday. I was incredibly impressed with the students and with where the teacher was for day 4 of instruction.
Amazing.
It was great.
Yeah. All right. That was an informative segment. I think we have a lot to be thankful for here in our community. I know the community, or the schools are really the heart of this community and really a big driver of a force for good and change. And
I can't say enough about our community and the support that they give our schools. I think we're so fortunate to be here and to be a part of what's happening here because our community is saying our students really, really matter. And they're willing to do so much for the sake of that. It just makes me feel honored.
Totally. So thank you for your time today. We're going to take a quick break here. We'll be back in our next segment with Mr. Nate Mendl, who will be talking about the Headliner Spotlight Series and what's coming on our way to Oregon High School on the stage. So again, thank you, Dr. Bergstrom.
Thank you.
And we'll see you back in a few minutes. Thanks. Hello, and welcome back. We're here with our next guest on our second segment of the show. This is Mr. Nate Mendl. He is the director of the Performing Arts Center here at Oregon High School, and he is in charge of what we call the Spotlight Headliners Series. And he's here to tell you, to kind of foreshadow what's going to be on stage in our very own Performing Arts Center this year in that Performance Arts Series. So, first of all, Nate, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So if you could, you've had a lot of varied experiences in your life, and they've kind of brought you here to Oregon and have kind of equipped you with some unique talents to be able to be in this position. So kind of share with our audience just a little bit about your journey here and kind of special talents that you possess.
Oh, well, thanks. Special talents, I guess. We'll take it. Okay. After college, I ended up being a professional performer for about 10, 12 years as a singer, wrote all of those shows, managed the business side of that, then went into teaching, decided that that was always my real passion, was vocal music education, choral music education. So I finally used my UW-Madison degree to teach, taught for 5 years, and then found that this was a perfect opportunity coming to Oregon to kind of blend those two skill sets together with my live performance and production background, and also still working with students within a community like ours. Mm-hmm. And so that's really been where I've been, for 5 years now. And the series that you mentioned, the Spotlight Headliners series, is one of the ways that we can bring in professionals here to our beautiful Performing Arts Center.
So as you begin to prepare for this Performing Arts Series, what kind of considerations do you make when trying to bring in artists for the community to watch?
Well, this specific series really is designed with the goal in mind of really drawing in the community. Everybody from age 5 to 105, trying to find shows that people will really respond to, something that's not cookie cutter, but is really something that's a unique experience when you go and see the show. So first of all, just finding the correct talent to meet those goals, where it's not just a tribute show, but it's unique and special music and performances. That takes a lot of time. Mm-hmm. And then trying to coordinate it so that we can bring them into our beautiful theater on a time frame that will also work for us and all of the other district events.
Mm-hmm. That could be a complicated dance, to be honest. There's a lot that happens on the stage here at Oregon High School between school events, music concerts. It really is a hub for everything performing arts here in town, for sure.
Can you believe the Performing Arts Center here is actually used more than 300 days per year?
That's amazing.
Every day of the year.
Yeah.
There's some event that's happening.
Yeah, it's a well-loved space. So I know last year, Rockapella was one of the most popular shows of your series last year. I hear they're coming back this year as well. And if kind of foreshadow and take our audience through kind of the season and what we can be looking forward to see.
Yes, well, Rockapella is returning this December. And so if you were in the almost sold out house last time, which was last October, then this time you'll be treated to an entirely different show, all Rockapella, all holiday music. Okay. It's actually their most popular show. So that will be in December.
Walking around the Christmas tree at the Christmas party. Ha, ha, ha. City sidewalks, busy sidewalks, dressed in holiday style. In the air there's a feeling of Christmas. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, darling. We're apart, that's true.
Actually, before that, just next month, is the performance from Guys on Ice, who many local Wisconsinites may have heard the show Guys on Ice. It's been around since the late 1990s, but it's just a hilarious ice fishing musical comedy that features a couple of guys that are shooting the breeze, well, ice fishing in the North Woods, and some Wisconsin humor that goes with that, and not to be missed. These are the same guys that you see if you have ever seen it on PBS. So it's the real cast, and we're very excited about that.
Well, somewhere in the world, guys are going to work. Well, works for guys that don't know how to fish.
6 beers left in a 12-pack, 12 hours left in a day.
Marvin, I got a 1 out of 10.
How'd you get to 1?
That's in October. And then in November, we have a group of guys who used to perform in the Jersey Boys on Chicago. They're called the 4 C Notes, which is a take on Frankie Valli and the 4 Seasons.
Oh, okay.
So the 4 C Notes is 4 guys singing all the Frankie Valli tunes along with a live full band. And so a lot of them were actually in the cast of the Jersey Boys, if you heard of that Broadway hit musical,
Very much so.
when it was in Chicago. And then when that musical closed, they ended up doing this show within the Midwest. So we're very lucky to have them.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 4 C-Notes. Oh, what a night. Late December back in 63. What a very special time for me. As I remember, what a night. Cherry baby.
And then you have one more act coming then yet.
Then the 4th act is coming in April.
Great.
And they are great. It's a group called Take 3, and it's classically trained piano, violin, and cello, and then drums. And their tagline is kind of when rock meets Bach. But they do, popular music, but in a very unique, inspiring way. And so actually they've been also seen on Netflix on a show called The Witcher. They do all the musical all the music for that show, and a few shows on Hulu. And then I think one of the members travels with Yanni.
Wow.
If you know Yanni,
Oh, yeah.
she's Yanni's lead violin soloist as well. So a lot of world-class musicians that travel the globe coming to our village here.
I think that's a great opportunity for folks in the village to patronize our downtown businesses, go out to dinner before, come to the show, skip the drive to Madison, and get that world-class entertainment right here on our very own stage at Oregon High School.
Oh, it's a fantastic date night.
And it sounds like a little middle mix for everybody. We have the ice fishing musical. Wives, bring out your husbands for that. I know they're going to love that. Who doesn't love rockapella? Who doesn't love the Frankie Valli music? And who doesn't love Bach? So I think that's a lot to look forward to. So in coordinating and scheduling with these performing artists, what challenges do you encounter? Like, how hard is it to book one of these world-class acts into a place like the Village of Oregon?
One of the things when we designed the series was that we wanted to bring in these world-class entertainers, but still keep it very affordable for the full community. And so one of the big challenges is we sell, let's take rockapella for example. We sell tickets. Tickets for all these shows are $25 for adults, $20 for senior citizens, $12 for students. If you go see rockapella somewhere else, they're $50 and up. Same thing with Guys on Ice, if you ever see them normally. So the cost to come to these shows is much more affordable than other places where these shows normally play. And so booking them and getting them here logistically in a way where we can make that work and not financially take a hit, but actually still have a successful show is important. Now, we do that because we want a lot of community members to come out and be able to experience this and appreciate it as though it is, something that they have in their own backyard, where, like you were saying, you don't need to drive to Madison, you don't need to pay for parking. Exactly. You can support the local businesses here, the great restaurants that we have in Oregon, and that sort of thing.
It sounds like almost the most expensive ticket is about $20 cheaper than what you can even get in the Overture Center for the cheapest ticket available. So that's fantastic. So I understand that these groups often will work with our students when they come through, if possible. That's been happening. So it's not only a beneficial relationship for the community, but also for our students to learn from these wonderful artists as well. So as we kind of draw to the close of our show today, could you kind of give our audience kind of the idea of, where do I find these tickets? Where do I find more information about it? How do I pay? What should I expect when I come? Just kind of that general information so they can go out and find that on their own as well.
Well, absolutely, of course. And like you said, the groups oftentimes do get to work with our student acts, either during clinics during the day, or we always have students that do a quick opener at the beginning of the shows where they get this one-on-one experience where they get to meet the performers backstage, talk with them a little bit, perform right before them for a very energized house. So it's great for our OHS kids as well. You can get tickets for any of the shows at OregonPerformingArtsCenter.com, which incidentally is where you can get shows for any of the OHS productions as well. And tickets are, as I think we meant,
You said 25 for adults.
Correct.
12 for students and senior citizens.
Senior
correct?
citizens are a discounted rate of 20.
Right, great.
And if you buy a season ticket for all 4 shows, you actually save 20%.
It's good to know.
And that's only valid until the first show, which is Guys on Ice in October.
Well, I know that I'm definitely not missing out on some of these performances, so I hope to see you there. And thanks again, Nate, for coming out and kind of previewing the season this year. I wish you luck, and I hope all the best.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for watching the show today. Watch out next month as we bring you another fresh episode of Let's Talk Oregon.